Hello everyone and welcome to Talk a Good Games match preview of Aston Villa against West Ham United. Club football is back after that international break, the second pesky international break of the season so far. Gonzo, kick us off with your thoughts on Villa, please.
Solid, Geo, solid. A club with a plan. You can often look around the Premier League and see these flaky clubs, if you want, with constantly changing direction, maybe a lack of vision, maybe a new vision, something like that. But you don't sometimes, not with everyone, you don't see a cohesive strategy. There are many that do. Brentford do, obviously Brighton do, and I think I'd probably put Aston Villa in that category now. They're a really solid club with an exceptionally good manager as well. They don't seem to have any waste in terms of the players that they're buying now. I think that was certainly the case with the infrastructure before, maybe even just a couple of managers ago. There'd be a lot of wastage in terms of their purchasing. Just everything seems to be done to a strategy now. They're a club. I was going to say they're a club going places. They're probably there. Say going places, they're probably already there in terms of where they could realistically expect to be, and that is, contesting top six in the Premier League and being in European competition. It's exactly what they wanted. It's exactly why they brought Unai Emery in, and it's exactly what they got.
Yeah, impressive club. I think I was always suspicious about their appointment of Steven Gerrard. I was never blown away by his achievements at Rangers. I think it was very sort of bigged up because it was Steven Gerrard. So the same struggle at Villa wasn't a surprise. I mean, Beale went to QPR. I think the writing was on the wall from Gerrard at that moment. It was a case of how long until the sort of mask slips, if you like. So to see him fail wasn't really something that raised my eyebrows, if you like. But what did was, I guess, going and getting Emery, it felt like an obvious, but at the same time, a bit of an ambitious appointment. And there was a case who hadn't had the best time in the Premier League previously. So it was a case of, well, can he do it at Villa? And since he's gone in, Villa have been fantastic. The football they play is really good. Their results have been superb. There's only a handful of teams with better results since Emery come in. You see these stats come up. They're the most random stats ever, which is like, points gained since Emery went to Villa. And it's only Man City that's got more, or Arsenal's got more. You're seeing it now with Ollie Watkins' goal scoring record. Only Haaland has more goals since that Emery went in at Villa. So all these numbers, if you like, really do point to the fact that they're heading in the right direction. They're playing, like I said, they're playing good football as well. The results are there. It's not only good football or good results. They've got both, which is not fortunate. I think it's a very difficult thing to do. I think sometimes you have to have one or the other to some extent. And to have both, I think, is incredibly impressive and brave. I think it's a very brave thing to do in the Premier League. And every time I watch them, I've watched them quite a lot. So it's not just since Emery's gone in, but under Steven Gerrard and Dean Smith before that. For some reason, I seem to watch Villa loads. It must have been the tally a lot. But every time I watch them this season and this season in particular, they have a different formation. They have a different way of playing. Every game is different. And it's completely, it intrigues me. So I found myself listening to a lot of Aston Villa stuff this season because a bit like Brighton, I'm fascinated almost as to how they're going about their approach game by game to some extent. It's not just we play this way and that way only. It switches up quite often. And that's sort of, as a football fan, as a Premier League armchair fan, it draws me in, that does. I find it entertaining, find it interesting. So, Villa's a club that's certainly got me sort of watching quite a bit. And if we weren't playing them this weekend, and I was looking for a game to watch, I'd be thinking, I hope Villa is one of the games that's on the tally, so I can watch them on my TV, etc., etc. So, yeah, I've only got a lot of praise for them. What do you expect from them this season, though, Gonzo?
Well, exactly what they're doing, actually. They had a little hiccup, didn't they, in the first game in Europe? But that's going to be fine. They've got the manager for that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't even be remotely concerned about it if I was. Well, I was going to say, if I was an Aston Villa fan, I'd probably be paranoid. I would be worried about it. But from the outside looking in, they got nothing to worry about. He's going to manage them through Europe. He's going to negotiate that. I can't. They're in the Conference League, aren't they? So I can't pretend to know all the teams that are in it. But they got a bit of a good chance of winning that. They really do. With that manager and those players, I think they've got a really good chance. I really do. The only thing that's going to be different for at Emery is when he was in Spain and he was regularly winning the Europa League, he didn't have the same level of competition in the league, so he could finish again in the European places very, very easily. Because let's be fair, it was Real Madrid, it was Barcelona, it was Atletico, and then the other 2 or 3 European places were up for grabs. I wouldn't say that's the case in England, although obviously you did your video yesterday, which was excellent about the it could go down to 8th place and whatnot. So the opportunities there. What do I expect them to do? I expect them to reach that Conference League final. If you win a final, get there. And if you're in one, get there and win it, by the way. It's not enough just to reach one, but I think they will reach the final. And I think, well, I'll tell you what I think now. I think the winner, there's no reason why both West Ham and Aston Villa can't qualify for Europe this season. Let's just say that. But if a team wins this game, either West Ham or Aston Villa, I will say it now, they will qualify for Europe through league positions this season.
That is an early call. Match day 9, and you're deciding, you're labelling this as the European
let everyone else call it on match day 37. Do you know what I mean? That's the easy prediction. I'll do it. Do you know what I mean?
Match day, there you go. Yeah. There you go. I don't like it when people say you heard it here first, because I'm normally like, you probably didn't. To be fair, it's probably elsewhere. You just don't listen to that YouTube
That's probably
channel,
the first time anyone said that sentence. Though.
Yeah, that's I'm comfortable in saying you heard it here first. That whoever wins out Villa and West Ham will qualify for European football. Bit of a wild one. That's the opinion of Gonzo, not of everyone at Ham's chat. I'm backing away from that.
He's done a disclaimer. He's distancing himself.
I am distancing myself from that claim. But I don't disagree with what you're trying to say, which is both of these sides, or at least one of us, can qualify. I agree with that. That's my next question. What do I expect from Villa this season? Do you know what? Win the Conference League. Anything else is a failure. If they don't win it, they've failed in that competition as far as I'm concerned. And I said it for Villa fans. I said it about us last season as well. That's just whichever Premier League club is in this Conference League this season, next season, season after, you have to win it. You like the heavyweights. You are the Real Madrid of the Conference League. You have the Conference League Galacticos, and you've got a squad that should smash most of those teams out of the way. And we did it last season. And I know Villa got a tricky start, losing the first game, a last-minute winner in the last one. But they get out of this group stage, which they should do. They can go on and win it. There's no excuses as to why they shouldn't win it. They've got the players are there, the manager's there, the club's there, the fan base, everything that you need to be successful in this competition. Villa tick every single. There's not even one you go, oh, I don't know about it. No. You're ticking every single one. They've got everything. And if there's any Villa fans watching this that's unsure about the conversation, me and Gonzo are a little bit biased, but it's brilliant. Enjoy it. Go win it. And it gets you into the Europa League next season as well, and I would argue, I mean, granted, there's a good chance that I'm trying to work out 6th and 7th in Premier League this season would finish in Europa League. But traditionally, this, as it was for us last season, this is your easier route into European football next year. Win the trophy, get into European football and enjoy it. But they have to win it, as far as I'm concerned. In terms of the league, top 8, if you can finish in the top 8 as well as winning that Conference League, I think it'll be a brilliant season for them. It's a big step forward, but it's solid. It's not built on a house of cards. It doesn't feel like it's built on a house of cards, which is how long can this last? It feels like, no, Villa's there, and they're probably there to stay now. And this is where the other clubs who have the money, like Man United, like Chelsea, should actually be looking at clubs like Villa and West Ham recently and thinking, hang on a minute, those lot are they're not going away. They're here, and there's no signs of them disappearing back to the bottom half and staying there for a considerable amount of time. So yeah, it's good. I like it. It's healthy. Gonzo, as you mentioned, we did the video the other day that 5th place in the Premier League is likely to get Champions League football this season. Are Villa in with a shout?
Well, they are in with a shout. They absolutely are in with a shout, and I think they're a bit of a machine. Actually, Geo, they're impressive. They're impressive. In fact, there's nothing not to like about Villa. Often sit on these reviews, and I think I don't like that club very much. But Villa, they're all right. And I think I do think that this ambition and this strategy, but a sensible ambition. Let me just say that as well. I think there are other clubs who throw money around who are not going to achieve what Aston Villa achieve this season. And because of the way they are, for instance, Aston Villa will finish above Chelsea. I've done it again. Look, will finish above Chelsea this season.
That one's not as edgy. I'll let you have that one. That one's not as edgy.
No disclaimer, not distancing himself.
Someone said that before you. You can't claim that one.
I'm not going to claim any of it. I'm not even going to claim the first one. All right, I won't be turning around, saying I said that. Maybe I will. But anyway, yeah, I just think they can absolutely get top 5. I'm not convinced Newcastle will get 5th. I'm just not. I will know an awful lot more after the end of this game because we'll have played both teams back to back. But in many respects, I think Aston Villa are better equipped to do Conference League and League, if you know what I mean, and get 5th than Newcastle are to do Champions League and League and get 4th, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I think that's what they've got to be aiming for, and I think that's what most clubs should be aiming for at the minute, especially when Man U and Chelsea aren't particularly looking great at the minute. You have to take advantage. You have to. At the start of the season, you should probably expect those bigger clubs to do well and keep it as a closed shot. But when one or two of them drop off, you've got to be in. Someone's got to be in there and take advantage of it and nick that spot. And I think this season so far looks like it could be one of those with the extra spot with those two teams not doing very well. That actually a Villa, a West Ham, or a Brighton could pinch that 5th. You're going to need a lot of luck to go your way. You're going to need those two clubs, which is you're not in control whatsoever what happens there, but you need them to keep slipping up so that you can make that change. You need to stay away from injuries, which Villa currently are not doing so. They've been a little bit unfortunate in that regards. And possibly in January, you need to be able to bring in one player that could make a big difference in the second half of the season. So you need a lot of things to go your way, but should everything fall, you've got to make sure that as a club, you've done everything that you can to take advantage and try and get that 5th spot. So I think they're in the race. Do I think they'll win the race? At this point, no. But I certainly think they're up there and come, match day 25 of the Premier League. I think they'll still be in with the shout, albeit it might be a small one, but they should be there. Last question on Villa. Gonzo, as always, pleasure, Mayor.
Yeah, they've got some decent players, but I do think they're better than the sum of their parts. Luis, very, very good player. Obviously, Watkins, you've mentioned. I mean, what was interesting, I've not seen Villa play lots this season. Let me just say that for reasons of clarity. I looked at their bench the other day and, blimey, they've got some really good players on the bench. Longley is an excellent footballer. They've got Leon Bailey, who I think is a tremendous player. Zaniolo, as much heralded, it wasn't that long ago. He was, thought to be like the future of Italian football. Tillemans was an interesting one because I've not seen him play. I just thought, wow, that's weird. I remembered actually they signed him early, didn't they? Because he ran his contract down at Leicester. I thought he was terrible. I thought he was a terrible example of a footballer last season, actually. And I thought he really let Leicester down. And he's the type of player that I would consider to be a cancerous element in a dressing room, I have to say. So I was amazed, actually. I'd totally forgotten I saw him in there. But they must be managing him really, really well. I am surprised by that, what Unai Emery is building. And, it's all about the team. I'm so much to admire there that you would get this guy in. Anyway, look, they've got him in there. It doesn't appear to be starting from what I can see anyway. But, mate, they've got some really, really good players, lots of good players on it. Bertrand Traore, I thought he might, develop a bit more. He's got some talent as well. But, yeah, mate, lots and lots of good players.
Well, you've missed the obvious one. I'll take him in a second. But before I do, the unsung hero at Villa, I think, is Konsa. I think he's been fantastic. Their best defender by a mile, in my opinion. Obviously, Ings is out injured, but for the money they spent on Torres and Carlos coming in, I think Konsa's still the main man at the back. I think he's been absolutely superb. I think Luis has played really well. Kamara is one of those players that it's not often we get linked with a player that I don't know. I don't watch French league. Someone got linked with Kamara. I was like, it'd be nice to get him, I suppose, but I'm not that bothered. Went to Villa, obviously, and since I've seen him at Villa, I do think, God, that is one player we've really missed out on. I think he's a fantastic player as well. I've obviously got my favourite, John McGinn, in there. It's good to see him back. I think he's back to his best. I don't think last season was the best time for him at Villa, but he seems to be enjoying his football again, and we're reaping the rewards for it in Scotland as well. Ollie Watkins, I've been a big fan of forever, really. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and whenever I watch him, he impresses me. He has his quiet games, of course, but the one you missed out, I can't believe you missed him, is Diaby. How did you But you're a
I
big
don't
fan
watch
of
them.
Diaby.
I don't watch Aston Villa. I
Oh,
wouldn't, honestly, I wouldn't.
sensational
Yeah,
player. Probably the
I don't watch them.
best signing of the summer, I think, to be honest with you. We always got the talent from the Bundesliga, from Leverkusen. Hey, one of our boys' players. And, big money spent on him, but it's one of those where you just feel like it's inevitable it's going to work. Sometimes you get the big money transfer and think, oh, that's a risk. Where's he going to settle in? But it just felt like Diaby was just going to succeed in the Premier League. But I didn't expect him to be this good this quick. I thought there might be a little bit of a bedding period, working out how to use him getting used to the Premier League. None of that. He's just gone straight in. He's absolutely smashed it. Every game I see Villa play, he's probably the best player on the pitch. He absolutely terrifies me for this weekend. Not only him, Matty Cash worries me. He's gone back to sort of peak Matty Cash with his runs from right back and whatnot. So they worry me a little bit. But Diaby's just, God, he's some player. But it's just one of those, again, it's a frustrating one because I think everybody in the world of football, bar Gonzo, has heard of him. I'm joking, Gonzo's heard of him. He's heard of him. But it's one of those players that everybody would have probably liked at their club. But Villa were the ones that stumped at the cash and went and got him. They're getting the benefits. What a player. Anyway, it's time to talk about West Ham. In terms of team news, it's pretty much good news for David Moyes, actually. A couple of players that were injured prior to the international break, like Ben Johnson, Adam Creswell, Lucas Fabianski, they're all back in training now. Obviously, Lucas Paqueta didn't travel international break. He's out the squad, although he's coming under pressure to put him back in after failing to win during the international break. Obviously, the big concern for David Moyes is fatigue from travelling. Mikel Antonio away with Jamaica, Edson Alvarez away. Mohamed Kudus was over in America, I think, playing for Ghana. So there's a lot of players going away on long distances for the international break. But 4:30 kickoff on Sunday probably helps that way. I think Bailey was away for Aston Villa, so Emi Martinez was away. So Villa have got their own concerns in terms of long distance travellers, but certainly for us, we're biased. We're West Ham. We've got a few of them as well. And as we know, after the last international break, Moyes didn't start Edson Alvarez, so this is where it gets a little bit tasty. But what we are way to discuss now as a team that me and Gonzo want to see, not what we think David Moyes will do. We'll cover that in another video, but for this video, it's this team that we want to see. In goal, Gonzo.
Oh, well, Areola, naturally. Get Areola back in there, yeah.
Has to be. I watched the David Beckham documentary on Netflix, and there's a scene where he's at PSG. Beckham's at PSG. It's his last ever game, and Areola just appears in shot. He was a keeper for PSG, and he had his hair in the French colours because they just won the league, etc. So completely forgot. He actually got a game at PSG. So there you go. Areola and goal for me as well. Back four for this one, I assume.
Oh, back four, mate. Standard West Ham back four as it is this season, which is obviously a Vladimir Soufal, Kurt Zuma, Nathan Gerd, and of course the newly reinvigorated Emerson at left back.
Yeah, the only Italian not involved in a betting scandal at the minute.
He's Brazilian.
Villa have got their own with Zanilo. He's one of the ones that's sort of caught up in it. But apparently
there's someone else as well, isn't there? There's someone else. Not Guimaraes. No, Toniali at Newcastle.
I thought you were talking about Villa players. I've not heard of another Villa player. Yeah, Tonali. Yes, he's a way to get a lengthy ban. But yeah. Anyway, Emerson. I agree with Gonzo's back four. By the way, Emerson, Gerd, Zuma, and Soufal. Moving into midfield, this is where the difficult call starts to come in. There, isn't it? We've essentially got a three-man debate, but only two players are going to play out of Thomas Souček, Mohamed Kudus, and Mikel Antonio. I feel like we've got three players, but we can only select two.
Yeah.
So let's talk around them first of all, and that'd be Edson Alvarez, defensive midfield, James Ward-Prowse midfield.
Yes.
Jai Boone on the right, Lucas Paqueta on the left.
Yeah.
And then this is where we need to fill in the two blanks. Which two players would you like to see start?
Thomas Souček and Mohamed Kudus.
I agree. So would you like to talk through your reasons? And if I've got anything to add, I shall contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. Mikel Antonio is useless when he comes off international breaks. He just is. It is one of the worst things that ever happens to West Ham. I'm sorry to say, is when he switched his allegiance from England to Jamaica and he started playing international football for Jamaica. It takes him a couple of weeks to get readjusted. I've got every sympathy. I'm a terrible flyer. I get terrible jet lag. It takes me ages, and I'm not a professional footballer. That's just for me to go down the shop is something tough to do. So he just can't recover from it, and it's a massive hindrance for us, really. So I just wouldn't even play him there. And every other player there is a better option for him. If everyone was fit, I probably would drop Souček. I'd probably pay Kudus and Antonio, but he's not going to be. He's going to be rusty. He's going to be misfiring, and he's going to look tired, basically.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a difficult one because Moyes is going to do a little bit of sort of reverse thinking probably, which is what is Aston Villa going to do? And I think that's a difficult call because they've got a couple of injury doubts. They've got obviously Zaniolo, who's got this betting inquiry scandal, whatever, hanging over his head as well. In a couple of games, they played 3 at the back, but they have been away from Villa Park. So I think it's fair to assume they'll stick with 4 at the back for this one. But the biggest reason I would probably go Bowen and Kudus as sort of striker / right winger, and I don't want them to see them static. I'd like to see them probably interchange a little bit. One gets central, the other one goes right, whatever. As I think Villa's left side is their weak side defensively. I think Dean's all right. He's a decent player, but he's not the best defender in the world. I think Torres looked all right, but again, when you watch Neto do him in their recent game before the international break, I couldn't help but watch that thinking, you know what, I wouldn't mind Bowen running at him like Neto just did here, it wasn't even difficult. There was no skill involved. There was no physical battle. It was just a little bit of direct running and a bit of pace, and he was in and around him, then putting Chan in so that he could score. I thought, I watched that thinking, I fancy Jared Bowen up against him here. So I do wonder if having 2 similar-ish kind of players with Kudus and Bowen. Well, Bowen likes to go down the outside, but Kudus likes to cut in. But those 2 players up against Villa's weaker side, I think, would probably be our greatest benefit. As for Antonio, what we haven't seen yet is Antonio off the bench. We haven't seen what he can do off the bench yet. He started every Premier League game, and he's I think, in my opinion, he's deserved to. I get why people say he has it. That's fine. I accept it. You don't need to convince me. I understand. But what we haven't seen yet is Antonio coming off the bench for the last half an hour of a Premier League game. And I think this is a really good game to try it. Just after the international break, Villa's are going to be a tough place to go anyway. So I think if there's ever a game that you want to use Antonio as super sub, if you like, I think this might be it, actually. And then there's the other conundrum, which is, while I think Kudus is fine, I don't think he's upset or frustrated about lack of minutes yet. That will come eventually. And I think when he's come off the bench against Newcastle, done what he's done, I think we had 5 shots in the game. 3 of them were when Kudus was on the pitch for 15, 20 minutes. So he's going to be saying, hang on a minute, I deserve to start now. So I think there's more reasons to start Kudus than there is to start Antonio for this game. Not long term, just for this game in particular. Good test for us, Gonzo. It feels like we've sort of touched upon it when discussing Villa. It feels like there's a bit of a mini league. If Premier Leagues are often broke up into mini leagues, aren't they? You've got your relegation bit, etc., etc. But it feels like us and Villa are in the same one with Brighton, possibly Newcastle as well at this point, and it's a good test for us.
Well, Brighton go to Manchester City, and so if we beat Aston Villa, we go 5th. Well, actually, if Liverpool lost, which is not Merseyside derby, stranger things have happened. West Ham would actually go 4th. So, it's a big test for us, and it's a big test for Aston Villa as well, because we're not the old West Ham. We're not going to roll over and have our tummy tickled anymore. So they've got a game on their hands. They really do. And as much as they've got some wonderful players which we've really got to watch out for. You've spoken about already. Kudus deserves to start, by the way. His cameo appearance against Newcastle warrants that. He's not had a Premier League start yet. He deserves one. He's earned that. If they have to worry about players, they're going to have to worry about Lucas Paquetá. They're going to have to worry about James Ward-Prowse. They're going to have to worry about Mohamed Kudus, and they're going to have to worry about conceding corners against West Ham. So make no mistake about it. It's a test for Aston Villa as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they've looked a little bit suspect on the counter-attack, Villa, whenever I watch them. I think sometimes that's possibly their weakness, because they do commit their fullbacks forward. Dean and Cash like to get up the pitch, and that can leave space in behind. So I do think whenever they've looked a little bit fragile, it's when teams get a quick turnover of possession and go. And I think that's when we've looked good this season, when we've nicked it in and around our 18-yard, and we've gone down that pitch very direct, very quick passing, bam, bam, bam. Before you know it, in a handful of seconds, we've gone from one 18-yarder to the other. It's not always fruitful. We don't always get there, but we certainly attempt it, and I like it a lot. So I think what our strength is, I think that might expose Villa's weakness, but Villa I've yet to see a team. They've obviously lost games and stuff, but I've yet to see a team where Villa had no answer to. They've got tactics wrong in games and then gone on to lose them. But in regards to where they've dominated a game, where they've been the better team for 90 minutes, but just failed to break down that defence, I've not seen it yet, actually. They're not afraid to put crosses into the box. Now, that'll suit our defenders, but they're also not afraid to get the ball down and try to play it down the middle of the pitch. So, we concede a lot of shots. That data is a little bit questionable in my opinion, because we've taken leads in 7 out of 8 games. So traditionally, you're then going to concede shots because you're now protecting a lead in the way that we play, which is sitting on the edge of our box and encourage teams onto us a little bit. So statistically, which suggests Villa are going to get a lot of chances, but I would argue that's part of David Moyes' game plan to some extent. Not letting them shoot at goal, but to sit back and get the ball and go for the counter attack. So I think it's a really good test for us. But before the Freiburg game, I was looking at Freiburg, Newcastle, and this one as the three key ones, and that would take us to 9 games in the Premier League. And I think you've now got enough matches, enough data, enough evidence to say, right, okay, this is what you can expect this season. Yep. And if we can come away from Villa with something, I think that's a good result, in all honesty.
Sure.
Are you confident for this one, Gonzo?
Yeah, I am. But a good result is a draw here as well. Yeah. I think for both teams, because I think there's not a lot in it. And you look at, and it's not just say we both playing a similar coloured kit. We're both in Europe. We're both expected to do, to get through our groups in Europe, where there's sort of neck and neck in the league. There's only 2 points in it as well. We've both got good players. They've got experienced managers. I do wonder if it's, a bit like a couple of the old boxers, a couple of old bruisers who are sort of just happy to get out of the game with their faculties out and about with their faculties intact. And I do wonder if a draw's pretty damn good result for both teams. You live to fight another day, and certainly with West Ham, David Moyes will be looking at the fixtures thereafter and be thinking, okay, we can grab our points from there. But make no mistake about it, Aston Villa can beat West Ham, but we can beat Aston Villa as well. And I am confident that we will have a chance to do so.
I think if Villa, given they're the home side, if they want 5th, which they will, I think this is the game they need to win. I think this is the type of fixture that will pull you away from the pack, which is us, which contains us in Brighton. This is the type of result that you just need to find a way to win, because we will nick points off teams above us in the Premier League. We've already done it. We've beaten Brighton. I know Chelsea below us, but we've beaten Chelsea. So we are capable of nicking points and probably actually doing Villa a favour later on in the season. We drew with Newcastle, for example. So this is where Villa are serious about qualifying from the Champions League. I'm not even sure that's their ambition, by the way. I'm not speaking on behalf of Villa or Villa fans. I'm just, as a West Ham fan, looking in. I'm thinking that should be your aim. Your aim should be to get 5th. I think you're good enough to do it. This is where they need to win. But they've got a tough game coming up midweek. They're away to AZ Alkmaar. But next week they play Luton in the Premier League. And like you said, maybe this is one where both managers think, if we can get a point and move on to more favourable fixtures next weekend. Same with us. It's more favourable for us next weekend as well. I'm optimistic, actually. I think if we didn't have the international break, I'd be a bit more confident. But because of the unknown as to how impacted some of our players are with the travelling, etc., and that goes for Villa as well, it makes it difficult to really gauge going into this one. Can I get any final words from yourself, Gonzo, as well as your all-important score prediction?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We've had a lot of players that have travelled and might be fatigued, but we've also had a lot of players that haven't. Now, every club would have had that. I would suggest the players that we have that haven't gone on international duty are actually still international standard. So they've had a break. And you look at people like Kurt Zuma, you look at people, Emerson, Paquetá, Ward-Prowse. These are absolutely right. These are international standard players who've had a rest, really. So we carry some fatigue, but we also carry a lot of fresh legs into this game. I'm very, very excited for this one. It has to be said, because it's the opportunity. And rightly so, Aston Villa should see opportunity as well. But I very much see if we can go there and we can win this game, I really do believe, I think it's game on for West Ham this season. I really do. And I think we'll take, with the run of games we've got coming after, I think we'll take some shift and win this. And I think we get to we'll get to Christmas time in a really, really good position, and then we've got a decision to make on whether who to buy in January or whatever. But but Aston Villa are in exactly the same position, so really big game, which is why, Geo, I suspect it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, by the way, about the opportunity. And if you win, I mean, to get the win at Villa Park, have that confidence and momentum going into the game against Olympiacos and with the likes of Everton and Brentford on the horizon, bring it on. Like you said, let's get some points on the board. So come around Christmas time, we could be rubbing our hands thinking, this is exciting. What can we do from here? I just think there's a long way to go. So I can't quite declare the winner gets European football this season after 9 games. That's true. Way too early. 19 games, maybe.
The winner gets Champions League. Let's go with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the reverse fixture. Whoever wins this could win the title next season. I'm looking forward to your call for the reverse fixture.
I like it. Yeah, I love it.
I'm also going to go with 1-1 as well, Gonzo. I think both teams cancel each other out a little bit. I think both teams have got lots of quality, but a lot of hindrances for this game. Neither team are going to be in top-notch condition going into this one. It's not an ideal situation, but every club in the Premier League is in the same boat. It's just that some teams are more international players than others, etc. But for this one, I feel like it's quite level. Villa's inconvenience and our inconvenience, I think it's quite similar. So I'm just going to go down the middle. 2 good teams. Villa 1, West Ham 1. That's my prediction as well. But if you'd like to join us for the build-up, you can do at 3:25. We'll be live with our build-up show right here, taking a look at the Villa team, the West Ham team, and how we see the game going. Now that we've seen the starting 11s and exactly who's starting for West Ham. Is it Mikel Antonio? Is it Thomas Souček? Or is it Mohamed Kudus? Maybe it's all 3. Maybe Moyes has got a plan up his sleeve. Or someone's injured. Well, we'll wait and see. But if you enjoyed this preview, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe to Hammers Chat, myself and Gonzo. Catch you in a bit.